Welcome to Stitching with Cindy Botts. Today I have a large sewing bag I want to discuss with you how to make this large sewing bag. What's really fun about this sewing bag is that it can be wheeled along on top of your sewing machine wheelie case. And what I've done is I have just added that sleeve in the back so that you can add your bag to the top of your sewing caddy and carry it with you. All right, it's got a handle on the top. It's got two little handles on the side, and that sleeve allows you to slide it right on top of your sewing machine caddy. So I think that's a really cool thing. One of the things I would suggest when you make this bag is to use a thick interfacing, one that's really heavy, a really heavy one. I used a normal weight and my bag is a little bit saggier than I want. I know that it'll hold things just fine. Oops, I tipped something over behind me. I know it'll hold things fine, but it kind of sags. Not a big deal. Just next time I make it, I will use a heavier inner facing. Now for this, I used two 18-inch zippers, and I just had them meet here in the center. This is lined with the same fabric on the inside as on the outside. So the top and side and bottom are the white stripes, and the polka dots are the sides. All right, are the sides. Okay, so let's talk about how to make this fun bag. Now, the concept for making this bag is really not very hard. So what you end up having is a back rectangle. Now, on your rectangle, you have part of it for the lid, part for the back, and part for the bottom. So you want a rectangle, and then you take that rectangle and you have another rectangle, and this rectangle just gets sewn around like that to kind of make a box. All right, I thought I'd show it to you on this cardboard mock-up because it can be a little confusing. You're dealing with two rectangles, okay? The first rectangle becomes the lid, the back, and the bottom. You need to cut two of those, one for the outer fabric and one for the lining fabric, and then one for interfacing. Then the second rectangle becomes your front and your left and right side. So again, you'll need to cut two of those, one of the outer fabric, one of the inner fabric, and one of the interfacing. And then this is where you're going to have your zipper. All right, so we're just going to cut down into that rectangle and make a real narrow one and a wider one, and that will be your front. All right, so you can see that right here. This is the front. Okay, now the measurements that I use for my tote bag may be different from the measurements of your tote bag. Let me just flip to the right page here and we'll see what we have. So this is my rectangle, the top, the back sides, and the bottom, and I called this piece A. Piece A was 28.5 by 17.5. Again, you cut two, one of each fabric plus an interfacing. Then piece B and piece C. So I decided that my back side here was going to be 12 inches tall. The top is 8 and the bottom would be 8. All right, so across here 8 inches, across the bottom 8 inches, the side and the back are 12 inches tall. Okay, so on our little cutout, this here section is 8 inches, this is 12, and the bottom is 8. So the bottom and the lid are the same. Okay, and then the height I determined I wanted to 12. So that means this also has to be 12 because it needs to be the same size as the back. Okay, so I am going to cut a 12, well, it's going to be 12.5 when it's done, okay? Well, 12 when it's done. So I want this section here, from here to the zipper, to be 10 and a half. So 10 and a half times 33 and a half. All right, now why it has to be 33 and a half is because you're adding the 17. Okay, so you're going to start here at the bottom. You'll have the 17, and that piece has to go on the right side and left side. It's going to wrap right around. All right, so you need whatever the front is and the side. That's why it's so much bigger. All right, so this part here is 10 and a half, and this is up here is 2 and a half. Now if you wanted to cut that in one strip and then cut the 2 and a half off, cut it at 13 by 33, and then cut your 2 and a half off, and it'll leave you with it. If you want to do them in 2 separate strips, 10 and a half, 2 and a half, 10 and a half, 2 and a half. All right, so then for the slip piece in the back, I did that as my piece D, and for how wide I wanted mine to be 8.5 high, 9.5 wide. So that's how I cut it. I cut 2 pieces, sewed them together, and made this slip pocket. So just with your, I did put interfacing in it to make it stronger, with right sides facing each other. I just made a tube, then I folded under and sewed it down. Okay, turned it right side out, folded it down, and sewed a top stitching on it to make it nice and sturdy, and then I just attached it at the sides. So 8.5 by 9.5, 1 layer of interfacing, right sides together, sewing it, turning it right sides out, folding under the edge, top stitching, and away you go. Okay, and then just attaching it to the center. I would check your handle measurements in case your handles are farther apart than mine are, but that's where my handles go, and it slid in good. Okay, so that's how you do that part. Now I have a little mock-up over here at the sewing machine. I did not want to do a full another bag right now. I don't have that much interfacing, and I thought it would be easier to do a little mock-up here. So this would be the front panel of a tote, and you can see how I have taken my full piece and I've cut a narrow section off by laying the right side. Now I have flannel for this little mini box. I did not have a lot of interfacing, so I just throwing some flannel on here for the mock-up. You're just going to sew your zipper on, put your other fabric on. Okay, so you have your lining fabric and your outside fabric. You're just going to sew that on, fold it back, press that down, and sew. So this side I have done already. You can see that I did the same technique. Okay, and then I folded it back, pressed it down, and top stitched it. So this part is ready, would be ready to go if I had the other inside lining put on it, okay? For our purposes right now, we're going to pretend that that does have the lining on it so that we can talk about the next piece. Now, for this fabric, it is directional, so you want to be careful about that. That's why I chose to do it as my front and sides versus my lid, okay? So you're going to want to take and fold your piece in half and find the center, okay? And you're going to want to mark that somehow with either a clip or your dry your pens that are heat erase, and you are going to want to find the center of your back piece. Now I stage stitched my back piece, the lining and the outer fabric with the flannel you would be using interfacing. I stage stitched that, so it's all gonna stay together for me while I do this. And with right sides together for the outside of the lining and the bottom, this is going to be the bottom section of the bag. You're just going to go ahead and after determining where the center points are, you're just going to put that together. You're just going to put that together. Let's see if I can get the clip to, okay, and then you can put your clips all the way over to the edges, remembering to stay back a 1/2 inch. I'd like a 1/2 inch seam on a project like this that needs to stay strong. It's going to have weight in it. It just makes that pivot so much easier. Okay, so then I would be sewing that down. This would be the outside. It would look like this when it's sewn. Then you're just going to do the same thing is you're going to make that pivot. You're going to go ahead and clip down or pin down the side. You're going to sew one side and then the other, staying a 1/4 inch away from the end here. Say a 1/4 inch away because you're going to have to pivot for the back. All right, so let me just put another clip right here. Let's get another clip on here so we can see what we're doing. Clip that real quick. All right, so now you have it mocked up a little bit. Let me grab another couple clips so that this stays in a way we can see what we have. So let's clip that there. And I'll put another clip on this side. So I sewed the front first, then I sewed one side and then the other, and that is what you would have. Okay, so all right, sewing the sides. Okay, now you're just going to go ahead and tip this down and sew the side up, going up the side, going to the back. Okay, let's see if we can get a clip in that so you can see this mock up. Let me just get a clip there. Sorry about the camera angle not being so marvelous right now. I love these clips. They really make things so much easier. Okay, all right. So then you have your back side. Okay, you're going to do the same with this one. All right, so you just go ahead and sew that up. And you have three sides done. Well, actually more. The side the front, the other side, and now you're just attaching that to the back. So the bottom base of your bag would be done. Last step, I do the same as I did before. Find the center of your zipper piece here. Find the top of that, the center at the top. Find the center of your top lid. You're gonna put those together. Sew the front part down, then sew the side. All right, so let's spin it around a little bit. You'd sew the front all the way over, and then you'd sew the side all the way to the back here. And that's it. It's just a matter of a quick assembly. I hope you can see how that was done. And you add on your handles. Now, the time when I put on my handles was when I had this part flat. So before I did the back seam, before I did these side seams, let's just click this off here, pull these off a second. All right, so when you have your bag like this, you have this part sewn on, you're now ready to sew this over here. You know now the dimensions of where your sides are. So I just went ahead and now added my handles. Okay, so I know this is going to be the front corners right here. This is going to be the back corner. So I just made sure my handles were centered in, went over, I think I went over about 1.5 inches, and I laid it flat. Okay, put a stitching on and then folded it over. You can kind of see how I folded it over there, and my raw edges are tucked right in there. Okay, to make my handles, I took my 4-inch piece of material and I folded it in half, then folded the edges in again at half to meet that fold, and that gave me from a 4 down to a 1-inch strip. Okay, then I sewed it down and then folded it over and sewed this part down. As you can tell, it encases those raw edges. Did that for the side. Then this is the top of your bag also. Once I got the sides and top part done, I was left with just the lid. Once I got this part all done in and it was all pinned up, and I had just the part I was going to fold over for my lid, that's when I determined where I'd put the strap on the top. You can do it earlier. That's fine. It just is easiest to put it on while this part is still flat. And what's nice about this mock-up one, it's 15-inch strips, two 15-inch strips. So it's going to come out as a square little cube, 5 by 5. So that makes it kind of easy. I know this is 5 inches. Here, this was to be 8.5, I believe it was. So you can figure that out for placement of where you want your handles. All right, now again, I did my zipper in two zippers. It's the same principle as what the mock-up was, except I started at the center, laid my pinned my material to it, and started at the center, pinned my material before I sewed it down, so that I knew that the two zippers would be meeting in the center. I hope you make one of these. I think it's great for traveling to classes. Yes, it's a sewing bag, but you know, if you wanted to use this as just a regular travel bag, it would work perfect for that too. I know there's different suitcases on wheels, and they had the big pull handle. Just measure your handles for that slip pocket in the back where the handles slide through, as long as you make it wide enough for that. Again, I'd use heavier interfacing so you don't get this sloppy sagginess, and have fun. Happy stitching. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.